So today I'm going to talk about what the actual life cycle is of an enterprise initiative. Not what people think it is or what they plan it to be, but essentially what happens when a company decides to do a large, and in my case I know IT, but it probably worked for other initiatives, where you're going to try and make a major change. And in this case, I'm assuming it is a medium-sized or a large change. So this is anywhere from a 50-person project to a 500-person project, although I've seen this on a 1,000-person project before. I have no idea how federal projects ever get done at all. That could explain a lot of things about how they work. So let's talk about the enterprise initiative lifecycle. And you got to realize that this is going to look bad, but it is not all negative. Part of it is because people don't understand the scope of the project they're taking on to begin with. And so things don't always work out the way they want. And also people deliberately underestimate and undersize the cost of something. And then they try and compress it to make it come in quicker so that it's cheaper. And invariably, that comes with its own problems. The enterprise initiative lifecycle. So the first step of this is the concept phase. So this is the part where people come up with brilliant ideas and they start to get excited about it, and it's sold to management, or somebody played golf and they got an idea at golf and they brought it back as a genius thing. So this is the concept part. This is the excitement phase. There's like, what are we going to do? This is going to be a big deal. People start signing up to participate. At this point, there are a ton of unknown unknowns. If it's a big initiative, people will at this point have gone to the street and been like, we're going to do this huge thing. And the stock will actually might be implemented. Oh, these people are visionary. This group is really got their act together. We're going to drive the stock price a little bit, and we're going to get some good press around this thing we're trying to do. So at this point, the teams need to be formed, right? And there will already be teams, but what will actually happen is there'll be a reorg. Invariably, the company or division or group will reorganize around this new task. And so if you're doing the forming, norming, storming, and performing, this is the forming and norming phase. So you can see from the time of you thinking about this till the time you have a functioning team is probably like 9 months. All right. And then comes the storming and performing part. So you got X number of people on it. It's great. You're making a whole bunch of progress, you think. This was probably a 2-year project, and you can kind of see we're already at this point getting into like the 1 quarter left on this project. So this is the storming and performing phase, right? You've spent some time building teams, and now those teams are functioning. And at this point, there is a little bit of a bad smell on the project, and invariably there will be a reorg. So in a large enterprise initiative, the team that starts it, the senior management group that starts it, will almost never be the team that actually finishes it, at least in my view. It does happen, but I'm not buying it. So at this point, there's a reorg. Plus, it's been a year. And most enterprises reorg every year anyway, just like it's a thing. And because the power plays thing work out, or you realize you didn't have the right org. So in this case, we're actually going to go back into forming and norming on teams again, which means we're going to start losing productivity, right? So actually, the project will slow down at this point because a reorg's been done, usually because we realize we're off target a little bit. At this point, we're pretty far into the project. And you can also see that the Wall Street's no longer interested. Like, they've only got like a 2-quarter attention span anyway. And we're like maybe almost 2 years into this project. They will have forgotten or already given us credit for something that isn't done yet. So at this point, I called it panic work, but a lot of times this is the death march phase, right? This is where, oh, we built a new team who's blaming the previous team for why we're not done yet, when in reality, nobody really understood the complexity of what they were doing. So we're going to go into the panic work phase at this point, also known as the death march, where by this time we've probably got twice as many people working on this as we did originally, because we threw bodies at it in an attempt to bring the schedule in. Now, partway through this, we've got something. And so at this point, senior management has declared victory to the public. It's like, we put this thing in, we've declared victory, prizes will have been given out a little bit. the reality is this thing isn't done. We probably didn't meet any of the major objectives because we got confused a little bit about what the top 3 priorities were, or we changed them partway through. So we'll get a little bump from Wall Street here, but at this point, senior management will announce mission accomplished, right? To take a quote. Okay, so at this point, we realize we poured a bunch of money into this. We've declared victory. The thing we built isn't the thing we spec'd. And maybe the thing we spec'd wasn't the right thing to begin with, because now that we're in it, we have an idea what we're doing. So at this point, we're going to reframe the project. So we're going to change the conditions, the victory conditions for this game. And this reorg, this team that is in the second phase will realize where they're at, and they will reframe this. So we've already declared victory with senior management and possibly in the public, but we realize the way we do that is by changing the victory conditions, but the total goals for this haven't been met yet, so we're going to reframe it. At that point, we usually have another reorg, right? So we went through the panic phase. We realized we had some issues. The goal that we set may have either been too grand or too small, or it may have been off target. So we're going to reorg the team again at this point. It is in the 7 projects I can think of off the top of my head that were over 50 people up to 500. All of them reorged twice, at least, before generating true victory or abandonment. Okay? So we're going to go back into forming and norming again, and what that means is productivity went down by like 70%, right? Because now the mission statement has changed, and we've changed the organizational structure. At this point, because victory's already been guaranteed and granted, we're sort of in the lost people mode, where we've probably cut back the team because this is no longer the top initiative, but it's actually going to take like another 2 years to get this thing done. And we're going to do it with half the people, and they're going to know that they're no longer in the popular crowd. They're actually working on this thing kind of in the background so that true victory was achieved. Sometimes what will happen in the middle of this unappreciated work is senior management, like a C-level, will realize that this thing was not actually done, and they will start asking hard questions. And the people who got the victory, if they're not still around, will have walked away from it. And other people will be explaining to them, oh, that these were added conditions or other things. This is always the interesting part here. Sometimes they never awaken, but a lot of times they do, because like they're in that position for a reason. So they told the street about it. They declared victory. Then they realized we didn't actually finish it and put a bow on this thing. And they will awaken and try and figure out what we really need to do to make this continue, or do we just stop spending money at this point? So sometimes because senior management's awakened, they will realize that something's not right, and they will go and reorg again. So this is the 4th org change on this 4-year project, right? And we will reorg again. Also, because the victory points have already been given, anybody who was around for the victory will actually want to move on to another project, and they will have gotten a promotion or something else for that. So we'll reorg, forming and norming again. So this is the 4th time we've broken the rhythm of the team. Now, sometimes that's good because the work actually changed in the scope. And then at the end of that period, we're going to declare victory no matter what. We either delivered what we wanted to deliver, or we spent all the money we're going to spend, or it's close enough, or we've got some new goal that we need to do. I'm curious on your comments if you've seen the same thing. Have a great day.